is your strength. It's a Happy Day is a weekly devotional designed to inspire believers to find and walk in the joy of the Lord despite life's challenges. Get ready to explore relevant themes that challenge the mundane and the status quo of Christian life. Each devotional will include a time of storytelling, scripture explanation, and obedience points. So join me and others from around the world every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for it is a happy day.
Hey folks, I want to thank you for joining us for another day of It's a Happy Day. Listen, these weekly devotionals are designed to just encourage us and to challenge us at the same time. And so I want to thank you for growing with me as I have been doing this Happy Day for quite some time. And I've been getting a lot of calls, or emails rather, and from folks that are saying, during this time of family disruption and all the things we're going through, it feels like I'm really searching for God. And so I want to talk about over the next 7 days, how do you find God in crazy times? Have you ever lost something and you didn't know you lost it until someone, tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Sir, did you drop this?" And maybe it was money, maybe it was a scarf, maybe it was, who knows, but it dropped out of your pocket and you didn't know it. And sometimes that's how it is in our relationship with God. We're kind of going through the motions, but something is missing. And that's what I want to talk about today. Can you imagine how the church at Ephesus felt? In Revelation chapter 2, verse number 4, I want to share this scripture with you. It's absolutely mind-blowing. They were going through persecution as a church and as a community. They were dealing with fake news, all kinds of things happening in the media at the time. And God writes this church a letter, and he says, listen, you guys are faithful when it comes to doctrine and teaching. You even have discernment, and you have a desire for inner purity in terms of scripture and doctrine. He says, but I got one thing against you. I got one complaint. That's all I got. Out of all the great things you're doing, I only have one complaint. And you know what he said in Revelation chapter 2, verse 4? He says, you don't love me or each other as you did at the first. I want you to think about that. I mean, think about God tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, you've lost something. I want to show you that we're not where we used to be. And that just blew my mind when I read this. And what God was really saying to them was, it's not that we're not in a relationship. It's not that you don't have a desire for me. But what he's saying is oftentimes we go through things that it impacts us. And we just get in the motions and we're just going around the mountain doing the same thing. And we don't realize that we've lost something. And this is what Jesus is saying to his church. He's saying, listen, I'm looking at your outward expression of love, how you treat others and how you minister to the world. Like you're in a crazy time. I have actually birthed you. I've put what's needed in the world, I've put inside of you. And something has happened. You won't minister. And so what he was really saying in the scripture was that they were lacking the outside glow. They were lacking the happy day glow. The glow that's so bright that it draws darkness. The glow that's so bright that it pushes darkness. Darkness doesn't know what to do. And people come your way. Hey, what's going on in your life? Why are you so happy? Why are you so joyful? And so I want us to talk about over the next 7 days, how do you find God in crazy times? So let me give you one quick tip. This quick tip is simply this. I want you to think about this. Focus on the love of God, not your love for God. Let me say that again. Focus on the love of God versus your love for God. Because sometimes we'll be talking about, oh, I have a love for God. I want to love God more. And it's this way to God. But if you're going to locate God, check this. Focus on the love of God. Let me tell you a story. There was a monk And he put out in this town that he was going to come down out of the mountains and he was going to preach this amazing message of the gospel. And he advertised it, got everybody all excited about it. He said, I've got a message about Jesus and the gospel. And so they met him at this little church. And he came out of the mountains. And what he had done was he had kind of out of wood, he had taken and built like a replica of Jesus hanging on the cross. He put candles on his hands, a candle on his hand, candle on both, on one, the left foot, the right foot, and then he put a candle on the side where Jesus was pierced. And he said, but listen, I want you guys to meet me after the sun goes down. So they met him at the church, and everybody was packed in this church. He walked in, and you know what he did? He took a match and he lit the candles on Jesus' hand. He lit the candles on Jesus' feet where he was pierced. And then he lit the candles. He lit one candle where Jesus was pierced in the side. And so they had this replica of Jesus in the front of the church. And it was dark. And all they could see were those candles burning where he was pierced in his hands, his feet, and in his side. Isn't that powerful? And he walked out of the church. He said, enough said. I don't have to say anything else. If that does not get you, I don't know what will. Do you know how much God loves us? He loves everybody. The people you don't love, I don't love. He loves everybody. And so we're going to find God in crazy times. I want you to focus on the love of God for you, others, and the world, not your love and your desire for God. Now, Jesus gives them three things in Revelation chapter 2. I'm only going to give you one. He gives them 3 R's. The first thing he tells them is this right here. He says, I want you to remember from where you are fallen. If you're going to find me, the first thing he says, I want you to remember. And so I want to read this to you as I close this devotional. Sometimes we as Christians need to stop along life's road and look back. And when we look back, we see the winding roads. We see the steepness of the hills. We see the depths of the valley. But Jesus says, I want you to remember from where I found you, where you were mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, when you and I first met. And when you remember, these are the things I want you to remember. Number 1, remember the deliverances of God. Oh my goodness. Oh, the love of God was so powerful that it delivered you and I. Remember the way he has led you, doors he's opened, and how he took you that way when you wanted to go this way with your life, but purpose was this way. I want you to remember the blessings that he's bestowed, that he's given, that he's endowed upon you with family, gifts, and talents, and all the things that he's blessed you with. Remember those. This is your list. Remember the victories that he has won on your behalf. When people said it couldn't be done, when they said you couldn't do it, you couldn't get the job, when there was no way you could graduate, whatever it was, God came through for you and gave you the victory. And lastly, remember the encouraging words that he's spoken into your heart over the years. If you're going to find God in crazy times, this is how you do it. You focus on God's love, his love versus I have a love for God. You focus on the love of God, not our love for God. And I'll see you on day number 2 for how to find God in crazy times. Email me and God bless you. It's a happy day.